Hi everyone, my name is Anna E. Cook, and I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. I'm a senior product designer specializing in inclusive design, meaning that I focus on anything from accessibility to our subject today, gender inclusion. I work at Recurly, a subscription and billing management software, and I'm a master's student in the Creative Technology and Design program at the Atlas Institute of CU Boulder. Today we're going to talk about some of the ways we can better design user experiences for gender inclusivity. Gender inclusion in our products is a small action that can have considerable impact, both for the people we're serving and our business outcomes. Why be gender inclusive? With a growing number of people now empowered to share their transgender and non-binary identities, we have an increasing opportunity to better serve a broader audience. If you're a newer organization or serving younger audiences, inclusive design can be one of the most advantageous moves you can make. Gender inclusivity is especially relevant for organizations that specialize in social media, health, finance, and insurance because gender comes into play most in these business models. It can lead to increased user satisfaction, better audience segmentation, and far more accurate data on our users and their unique needs. It's important to remember that the needs of transgender and non-binary users are going to be different than the needs of many cisgender users. So getting ahead of this impactful cultural shift means that we can better serve all of our users in the long run while winning out against our competition. So let's talk about how to be gender inclusive in our designs. The most common places that users identify their gender are in onboarding experiences and their profiles. In any experience which we request information from people, we should be asking ourselves, what information is most necessary for us to gather, and how are we using this information to help our users? If our product doesn't really need users' gender, then we shouldn't ask users to give us that information. It's best to minimize what we ask of people to reduce the effort they have to put in, especially when they're learning to trust us. In many cases, the first impression that someone gets from our products is it's essential that it's minimal and transparent. People have very little at stake at this point in the process and can easily leave an onboarding experience if they determine they don't like it or aren't comfortable with the questions asked. When we do ask for gender, it's always good to let users know why. One emerging trend we are seeing is explanatory text associated with form fields. Offering information to users in this way cultivates a trusting relationship from the moment they begin interacting with our product. If I'm onboarding with Pandora, a music streaming service, and they ask for my gender, I might wonder why they would need it and how they would use it. Since Pandora is a music streaming service, having my gender doesn't seem entirely necessary, but they let me know more about why they asked for this by explaining that they use gender to personalize my experience, allowing me to dig deeper if I'd like to understand their reasoning further. This helps me trust that Pandora and their motives, trust Pandora and their motives, and gaining a user's trust is invaluable. Trust can make all of the difference in transforming a casual user to a devoted one. When we ask users for their gender, we also need to reflect their identity in a way they feel aligned to. There is so much more to gender than a simple form can contain. So this is why I recommend allowing for a diverse set of options, or even better, a custom gender input so that people can truly align their profile to their identity. Gender in humans is so fluid and diverse. We can Google how many genders are there and get a myriad of answers. Our gender can be expressed in so many different ways, with so many different words. So why should we funnel people into a few options when so many more exist? Facebook is one product that currently allows users to enter custom data for their gender. Details like this embrace a culture that is not binary, allowing people to change and transition as they unravel their gender identity. This is especially valuable when presented in the context of social media, so that people can be socially seen in the way that they identify. If you're asking for someone's gender, it's also wise to ask for their pronouns or give them an opportunity to provide them if they choose to do so. For example, as I identified earlier, I use the pronouns she and her. When a person shares their pronouns, they are naming the pronouns that they want to be referred to by. It is respectful to use someone's chosen pronouns, just as it is to use their chosen name. Pronouns can be used to clarify how someone identifies to their family and friends, or in something as simple as an email to a colleague. This customization can make all of the difference for people who deal with gender dysphoria, a feeling of discomfort or distress that occurs with people whose gender identity differs from their sex assigned at birth or sex-related physical characteristics. By using someone's chosen pronouns, we can help them feel more comfortable, more trusting. Facebook also allows people to select their pronouns and will change the wording that a user can interact with in their site based on that selection. This small change can leave a user feeling significantly more positive. And even when users complete an onboarding experience, we need to allow them to change their gender and pronouns at any time. People who are transgender and non-binary share this part of their identity at varying times in their lives. Our users may come to share this information at any given time, just as they would with sexual orientation, depending on what they're comfortable with. We can't assume that the gender and pronouns someone signs up with are constant and forever. Can you imagine how meaningful it is for someone who is genderqueer to be able to use something as simple as a form to finally get to share their pronouns and gender? Or how frustrating it would be to be unable to? Last and not least, we need to cultivate content that isn't binary. This can be anything from stock images to articles on personal finance. As I mentioned earlier, the needs of people with different genders varies, and we can't expect that content designed only with one gender or cisgender people in mind will speak for everyone. Representation matters. Seeing ourselves in popular culture is important. As a gamer, I can't begin to tell you how much it meant to me when I could start playing RPGs with female characters. I've had to find stock images for the past 10 years, so I know that options can be limited and that better options tend to cost more. And I know that data related to transgender and non-binary individuals isn't as available as we would like yet. But the more we include gender diversity, the better we will be able to find those imageries, that data, those resources. We have to try our best and advocate for better representation in products we are working on now, as culture shifts take time. Before I wrap up, I want to mention that as a cisgender woman, I seek to be an ally and advocate by normalizing gender diversity, but I can't speak to the personal experiences of someone who is transgender and non-binary. So I encourage you to take your advocacy further by ensuring that you speak to people who are genderqueer and learn from them, particularly when it comes to user testing. A good few books to get you started are Trans Bodies, Trans Selves, Transgender 101, and Transgender History. I invite you to read more on this subject and the article I wrote, and connect with me elsewhere to share your thoughts. If you notice other opportunities for gender-inclusive UX design, I'd love to hear from you. My username on Medium, LinkedIn, and Twitter is Anna E. Cook. And with that, I want to thank you for your time and for watching this Denver Startup Week 2020 presentation.